Hello, I'm Marilyn Remus, and welcome to Centel Cable's Round the Town. Our discussion tonight will center around financial independence. Our panel of experts will discuss the role of financial planning and investing in such diverse areas as stocks and accounting. So, stay with us for our panel discussion toward financial independence, coming up next.
My daddy went to the hospital today. My mother said his heart is sick. He says it won't be long until he comes back. I hope he gets well soon because I miss him very much.
What heart disease can mean is leaving home one day and never coming back. You can help prevent heart disease. We can tell you how.
With the stock market plunging and so many varied types of investments to choose from, it is almost impossible to know how to invest your hard-earned money correctly. The goal of achieving financial independence almost seems futile in a very confused marketplace. Tonight, our guests are here to help us sort out the confusion. We are delighted to have with us Karen Martins, who is a stockbroker with Raymond James, and Ron Warner, a certified public accountant. Karen has been in the financial industry for 5 years. In January of 1987, she was selected as one of the top 10 up-and-coming people in the financial industry by a national magazine. Ron has served 25 years working with income tax and served 10 years as an internal revenue agent and 15 years in private practice in the Palm Beaches. Welcome to you both. We're so glad you could join us. Karen, could you give us just a brief, quick outlook at how the person today sort of can perceive the market? In other words, for 5 years, I believe you were saying it was a certain way, and now possibly people should look at it in a different manner.
We've just come out of a bull market, or been in a bull market for the last 5 years. With the record plunge we experienced on Monday of 500 points, we're now in a period that's unprecedented with new rules, basically.
Right.
We have program trading, which is basically computer trading programs that that's part of the cause of this volatility and the record volumes that we're experiencing, but it's only part of the cause. We were expecting a 10 to 15% correction. I think what happened on Monday was the correction, then panic set in. And at this point, you were saying with the market plunging, at this point the market is rallying. The blue chips are starting to look very good. The companies are buying back their own stock, which is a healthy sign. We're having companies like Ford, Citibank, and Merrill Lynch buying back their own stock, which they feel is very low and very undervalued.
So basically what you're saying is they're going out into the marketplace and buying, IBM is buying IBM stock.
Some of the companies, some of the top companies.
Right.
At this point, it's 40 to 60 companies as of this day. Also, in the last couple of days, the prime was lowered, which is also a positive factor. We've had word that the Federal Reserve and the Monetary Commission are meeting so that something like Monday's drop will not occur again.
Or they can prevent it.
I don't know if they can prevent it. They're meeting to see what they can do about some of the program and computer trading. At this point, I don't think anyone knows. And a lot of clients are asking, well, isn't this the time to jump into the market? There are some good values. The blue chip stocks, if you're willing to hold on for the long term, I can suggest investing in some of those. For the short-term people who are trying to make a play on the market, I'll warn them that you're gambling if you're trying for a short-term play.
Not exactly the place to be is what you're saying if you're
Not for a short-term short-term player.
You mentioned before diversification. Would you do me a favor and kind of explain diversification? And we hear that term a lot. And sometimes I think maybe lay people, such as myself, someone says, well, we should go into diversification. Can you kind of make that clear for us?
Certainly. When a client will come to me with a portfolio of stocks, bonds, possibly money that they've just gotten from an estate sale, I will do a plan for them that will divide their money in percentages in different investments besides stocks and bonds. We have areas within insurance. We have areas of equipment leasing for income people. We have the cable TV industry. It's a hot new industry right now for since 1972 basically for growth-oriented investors.
Growth-oriented meaning that they're willing to stay there for a long time?
Willing to stay there, go in with a percentage of your money that is something that is non-liquid and that you're going to stay with.
Ron, okay, we're going to go into the area of income tax, and I think this affects every single person in the United States. There have been some changes. Is there anything that you can kind of help us out on?
Yes, Marilyn. As you know, income tax is very important to personal wealth increase. And never before in the recent history have we had such a change in the income tax law as it's going to affect each individual taxpayer. The rates have been restructured downward. There's a lot of deductions that we used to have that we won't have anymore. A lot of credits that we used to have that we won't have anymore. And just basically, it would be in everyone's best interest to make sure that they understand all of these changes in income tax so that they can best position themselves to increase their own personal wealth.
Well, when you say that there are no longer, it sounds to me like they've taken away a lot from us. Is that correct?
They have taken away a lot from us. They've taken away, or in a phase-out period of taking away consumer interest. That would be interest on appliances, furnishings, personal items, credit cards, charge accounts. They've taken away or reduced the benefit of medical from 5% over your adjusted gross income to 7.5%. They've taken away 20% of a person's entertainment and business meal expense. They've taken away a percentage of the miscellaneous itemized deductions. They have increased the amount of deduction that a person can take for their exemption. It used to be a person could take their own exemption. Now if they're under 14 or claimed by another person on their return as a dependent, they can no longer claim their own exemption. They've taken away the marital deduction. They've taken away the capital gains rates, and they've made just a lot of major changes.
I'm starting to get depressed. They've taken away this and they've taken away that. Does anyone have any questions of why they may have taken something away? Yes.
Why did they do all that? Why are they making it harder for the lower to middle income class people to even save anything? It doesn't seem worthwhile anymore to work because IRS is going to get it all.
That's not really true. What they have attempted to do is to broaden the base, the tax base, so that more people pay some tax. They've attempted to reduce the rate so that more people pay, or some people pay less. But those people in the higher brackets that they've reduced the rates on, they've taken away the major deductions that those people had been used to, such as the tax shelters. They've taken those away from them.
So in essence, they're trying to do this for the higher income bracket people to where they start paying taxes, but in essence it is hurting us all, is what it sounds like.
I don't think that's quite true. They have increased the tax, or attempted to increase the tax of the higher earner. However, some of your statements about hurting us all, some of the people that benefited more from these elements that I discussed are people that were in high brackets, because a favorite trick or scheme of high earners was that they would spread the income among all of their family units and then reduce the taxes overall for the family unit. Whereas now, that family unit is going to pay tax on a single rate, the parental rate.
There must be some positive things toward this.
The positive is that the rates were reduced tremendously, and hopefully they will retain the lower rates, and hopefully it'll benefit a lot of people over the period of years.
Do you find that it's that the general public is basically confused? In other words, they say, you know, learn what you should know. Well, it's like, how do we know that? One person says one thing. It's a basically confusing item, I think, for the public.
Marilyn, to answer that question, I'm a CPA. I have a tax practice. I've been already on the Tax Reform Act of '86, which is in full effect for '87. I've been to seminars totaling over 120 hours. And I'm confused.
And you're going to tell me you're confused.
So,
okay.
Well, I'm not really,
No,
but the gist of it is the public, as a rule, are not even aware of most of the things that are going to affect them this year. We have another several months before the end of the tax, or this current year. I think it would benefit everyone if they would become aware of the things that are going to affect them, because I think most people are not aware of the tax changes that are going to affect them.
Is literature available now, and if so, where, that we could go check on this to find out some of the differences of the tax laws, what to do so we can better prepare ourselves for when income tax comes along?
Yes, there is. There's a very good publication that the Internal Revenue Service puts out. They have a booklet on changes that affect individuals and a booklet that affects changes for businesses. I would highly recommend that everyone that is interested, and everyone should be interested in taxes, if they're interested in accumulating wealth, I think that they should go to the IRS and pick up one of those books.
So we can go to the IRS and pick it up, or would they mail it to us?
I'm not sure that they will mail it to you. If you had a form to send in to the district office, I'm sure they would send you one.
So it wouldn't be too hard to get that?
No.
Good. Stay with us, please, as we break.
Every woman knows that a good diet, medical care, and exercise can make you look and feel better. It's a good idea at any age. But there comes a time when taking care of yourself is not just for looks. After age 55, a woman's risk of heart attack triples. Find out what you can do today. Call the American Heart Association.
Welcome back. We've been talking with Karen Martins and Ron Warner, and we've touched a little bit on the stock market and a little bit on income tax and how we can find out more about it. And I think possibly the next step might be to talk about IRAs. Can you help us a little bit on that, Ron?
Yes, there's been some major changes in the rules of when and how to deduct your IRAs this year. For instance, if you're not covered by an employer plan, regardless of the amount of money that you make or earn for the year, you can still contribute and deduct up to $2,000 apiece for an IRA for 1987. However, if you're covered by an employer plan for this current year, 1987, then you may be limited to the amount of deduction if you earn over 40,000, between 40 and 50,000, and you file a joint return. So you need to be aware of those rules, and you may still be able to deduct your IRA if you're not covered by an employer plan.
So as I understand what you're saying, those of us in the world who make less than $40,000 or $50,000 and have an individual IRA, we can deduct.
That's correct. The IRA is phased out between 40 and 50 on a joint return at the rate of $1 for every $5 over 40,000 your adjusted gross income is.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody have any IRA questions? How about other stocks and bonds?
I have a question for Karen. What are your feelings on U.S. savings bonds in general? I mean, a lot of us here are involved in savings bonds for payroll deduction purposes, put into savings bonds. Just wondering what your feelings were.
Hey, you have, these are pre-tax dollars that they're taking out of your account and investing in U.S. savings bonds. Hey, you have no alternative but to use savings bonds in this investment. You don't have a choice. I feel anytime you can use pre-tax dollars and put them away and accumulate your wealth, especially in your 20s and 30s, it's a good idea. I don't know your individual situation, so it's a general answer, not knowing what exactly your situation is financially.
Yes.
I have a question for Karen in regard to investments. Is there any other, aside from IRAs and savings bonds, is there any other type of investment that the average working person can make without going into debt or having any bad financial happenings such as what happened at the stock market Monday?
Is the question basically what other alternatives that you have that are conservative, that you're not taking?
Low risk
risk
investments.
Okay. There are several options. One, within an IRA, even the $2,000 investor can take a share of their money and put it in real estate, which a lot of people, when they only have $2,000, don't have the opportunity to do outside of an investment. The benefits, basically, of the real estate investment is you can get a 7% return, which doesn't sound magnificent, but it's backed by real estate. You're out of the stock market. You don't have the volatility of the 500-point swings, which are, hopefully, are not going to be commonplace. But you do have a chance to get into the real estate and participate at the end. When they sell it off, typically between 5 and 7 years, you'll have a chance to participate in the growth, which can be sometimes 1.5 times your money.
I have a question for Ron. Does the IRS have any plans on changing the amount that you can deduct for home interest and or first, second mortgage or home equity loans? Anything you can, any plans that you know of that they're going to reduce those benefits for us?
The laws have changed considerably this year on interest expense that's deductible on your tax return. What is deductible this year on a personal tax return is the interest expense on your home and a second residence. The amount that's deductible is from the debt that it does not exceed the original cost of the home plus improvements to the home plus some limited amount of financing for educational and medical purposes. But interest on debt up to that amount is still totally deductible.
Did that answer your question? Good. I wondered, what type of investments would you advise, maybe just the ordinary person? We talk about $40,000 and $50,000. Let's go to the bracket of 20 to 30. Is there a, Karen, is there a special something that you advise your clients?
Now, if you're talking about they come to me and they have $20,000 or $30,000 to invest,
I'm
or
saying
that their income is $20,000
okay,
to $30,000.
all right. I'll make it clearer then. I don't think that the majority of the people make $50,000 just right off the top, and so they're making $30,000. They come to you and they would like to start maybe a small portfolio. How would you start them out?
Basically, for the smaller investor, it's very important first that they put enough away to cover their expenses for 2 or 3 months. When they have accumulated some money, you can start off with a small portfolio of stocks, maybe some bonds. It's harder when you have a small amount of money. Basically, for somebody in the $20,000 to $30,000 range, an IRA is the best vehicle for them. If you're making 20 and 30 and you're in your 20s, you're going to be purchasing a home. You're going to be doing other investments at that stage of your life. If you're in the next category, between 50 and 60 and ready to retire, hopefully you've accumulated some money. It's harder for the person who has $20,000 to $30,000, especially in this day and age, to put away money.
Mm-hmm. But still, what you're saying is the best bet would be go to an IRA and start and just keep plugging away at it.
That's
and
correct.
do the best you can. Ron, can you tell us a little bit about children and unearned income?
The unearned income on children this year, 1987, will be taxed assuming that they have over $500 of unearned income, or a combination of $500 of unearned income and $500 of earned income. Then they have to file a return, and they will have to pay tax on investment income that exceeds $1,000, and they have to add that taxable income to their parents' taxable income and compute the tax at the parental rate. And then they go back to their own return and they pay tax on the greater of their own tax rate or the parental rate, whichever is greater. So it's quite a complicated computation that you have to go through if you have children with unearned income. And if you have children, several children under 14 in a family unit, and they all have unearned income, you have to group that all together to make the computation and then allocate it back to the children in relation to the unearned income that the children have.
So it does come to be quite a, as you say, a complicated process.
Certainly is.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it sounds like it's making it harder for us to save for our child's education. What do you think would be the best way to invest money to help with the child's education without the IRS grabbing all of it and making it seems self-defeating to try to save anything?
There's several vehicles that you can invest in that will extend realization of income beyond the 14-year of age category. Those might even be U.S. savings bonds. When you cash them in, you pay tax on them then. Other things, and Karen, I should yield to Karen on this, but real estate investment trust or some other vehicles that may even produce losses currently. But when the real estate is sold down the road, will realize income after the child has reached the age of 14. So there's several vehicles available yet that the child can invest in.
I have a question for Karen. The mutual funds, things that the average everyday employee, 401k plans that are supposed to be well diversified, did they not get hurt in the stock market Monday?
Oh, well, the variable life insurance products, or are you talking about a fixed income vehicle where they guarantee you a percentage rate in the...
Fixed income.
Well, now on the fixed vehicle, you're giving up the opportunity for growth. You know it's a straight 8%, or a couple years ago you could only get 7%. A lot of the pensions, when the interest rates went down to single digits, went into the equity market to get, hopefully to get more appreciation. As the bond and interest rates look like they're going up a little, once they get into double digits, you'll find your pension plans will possibly be switching over to the insurance vehicles. If you can guarantee a 10 to 12% rate, I think they'll choose to do that.
Ron, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I'd kind of like to know, having been an ex-IRS agent, do you have any little hints or clues or tips that we might know?
I think, Marilyn, that it really behooves everyone that's serious about saving money tax-wise to study the new laws and see how they will affect them. And after they've determined how they affect them personally, then set about to determine what they can do to structure their finances so that they will pay the least amount of taxes legally possible. There's still some shelters that are available. Some of the rehab buildings still throw off credit. Some of the oil and gas wells still throw off shelters. So there's still some shelters available. But whether or not a person would want to invest in those from an investment standpoint is another question. So each person has to go out and determine how it affects them personally.
Well, let me take it one step further. So I go down to the IRS and I get a booklet, and I read the booklet, and I get to the end of it, and I'm still not sure what I read, which is what happens sometimes a lot. So now, what do? Now can I go down there, and will they tell me what I don't understand, or will they answer my questions?
I would recommend that you consult your CPA.
Call a CPA. If you go down there, will they help you, or do they not do that?
At the Internal Revenue Service, I'm not exactly sure that they're geared up yet to be able to answer questions on the Tax Reform Act of '86. So
okay.
I would have to say that may not be the best solution right now.
But still, what you're saying is read and study and find as much as you can, and not wait until April comes and suddenly surprises us and we have panic among the ranks.
Most people tend to do that every year, and it's unfortunate because a major part of your income goes out in income tax. And if you spend more time studying and determining how it affects you, then you have an opportunity to increase your wealth through that vehicle much greater.
Through that knowledge. So basically, it's like doing homework. If we just sit down and make ourselves do it and read, and instead of putting it off and hoping that it'll go away, which obviously it's not, we'll be better off in the long run for it.
Exactly.
Well, Ron, thank you. I appreciate your being with us here tonight. And Karen, it's an interesting world that the two of you live in, and we appreciate your knowledge and your coming to us and helping us out tonight. It's really helped us, and I think if everyone watching around the town would like to continue to learn more, Achieving Financial Independence is a video that will be featured on Round the Town channel each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday throughout November, playing at 6:30 p.m. And I'm sure you'll find it interesting and helpful, and do as I'm going to do and watch it, and maybe we'll all become a little bit more knowledgeable. And thank you all for coming. Appreciate your attendance and your questions, and that's it for this week's Round the Town. Join us next week as we highlight some of the local service organizations and their work in our community. And we look forward to sharing time with you then on Round the Town. Bye-bye now.